It's the Everyone Gets a Trophy football podcast presented by the Yuppie Yinzer. We're more than halfway there, episode 5, focusing on the AFC West. If you're not already doing so, hit us up on Twitter at Trophy Podcast. Once again, special thanks to super producer Howard at NFL_DVOA_picks. He's the one logging the man hours, collecting all the information, sending it over to me so I can project it to the world. You hear us now, so you know we're on iTunes or Google Play or YouTube. However you're listening, make sure you're subscribed, get those notifications so you're the first one to hear the episodes. With that, let's kick off the AFC West. Kicking it off with the Oakland Raiders. Mark Davis, the son of famous owner Al Davis, thought he found his new messiah in Jack Del Rio. Turns out he was a false prophet. Mark goes back to the old guys, a guy by the name of John Gruden. But first, general manager Reggie McKenzie was retained. He's back. He won the 2016 Executive of the Year after a 12-4 regular season. That season didn't end on a high note when Derek Carr missed the playoffs and the Raiders were bounced by the Texans in one of the uglier matchups between starting quarterbacks in a postseason game. Raiders could not strike gold again, followed that 12-4 season with a less than stellar 2017, going 6-10. Al Davis once soured on John Gruden. He shipped him off to Tampa for a boatload of picks and was immediately haunted by that Chucky doll. Gruden had all the plays, destroyed the Raiders in the following Super Bowl, and the Raiders have been looking to get back to the promised land ever since. Al passes away. Mark hires the McKenzie Del Rio duo, saw some success in 2016, but they're gonna party like it's 1999. Signed John Gruden out of the announcer's booth to the tune of 10 years, $100 million. Gruden said that he came back due to his need to compete, quote, "I got tired of sitting in a dark room watching tape by myself. I took Roomba dancing classes. That didn't last. I wasn't any good. Bought a boat. Never used it. Live on a golf course. I never play. I go to the Fired Football Coaches Association early, and next thing I know, it's 10:30 at night. I'm thinking, shit, I'm wasting my time. I gotta go compete." And with that, John Gruden back on the sidelines in 2018. John and Reggie had a very aggressive rebuild. Yes, we're calling it a rebuild. They went after older veterans, overpaid them, much like Gruden's first tenure with the Raiders. Gruden's a fan of the veterans. All these guys are pushing 30, if not way over 30. He spent the last decade watching these guys on Monday nights and spending time prepping with them in meeting rooms. He knows the guys he likes. He went out and plucked them. It started on draft night. Traded for Martavis Bryant, traded for Ryan Switzer. They got to free agency and went ham. Check this list out. Derek Johnson, 36 years old. Leon Hall, 34 years old. Sharice Wright, 31. Jordy Nelson, 34. Reno Gio Kamiji, 33 years old. Doug Martin, 29. Emmanuel Lemire, 29. Tahir Whitehead, 28. Tank Carradine, 28. Marcus Gilchrist, 29. And the baby of the group, Rashad Melvin at 28. Yes, veterans all over the place. That's what John Gruden wanted. That's what John Gruden got. Looking at John Gruden's staff, he's obviously going to call the plays. They still hired an offensive coordinator. Greg Olson comes back to the Raiders. He was a quarterback coach last year during Jared Goff's huge sophomore campaign. He'll come in to be the de facto quarterback coach of the Raiders and assist John Gruden, much like we saw Frank Reich do for Doug Peterson and the Eagles last season. This isn't his first offensive coordinator job. He was with Jacksonville in 2015, finished those years 21st and 27th in offensive DVOA. Before that, he was in Oakland as the offensive coordinator for 2013 and 2014, where they finished 28th and 30th. Again, he's not calling the plays, so let's just move on to the defensive coordinator. At defensive coordinator, Paul Guenther comes over from the Bengals, who just let his contract expire. Was he pushed out? Not sure. Maybe another story for another time. He's here with the Raiders as defensive coordinator. He was consistent with the Bengals from 2014 to 2017, finishing 14th, 10th, 17th, and 17th in DVOA. In 2017, Oakland finished number 29 in defensive DVOA, so they will certainly welcome this consistency. Some other fun coaching hires let's talk about real quick. Special teams, Rich Bisaccia comes over from the Cowboys. Gruden was not shy about letting Rich go out and get his guys. They added Dwayne Harris, Keith Smith, traded for Ryan Switzer, Kyle Wilbur, and even kicker Mike Nugent, all to play special teams in Oakland. These are all former players that Rich coached at some point in Dallas. Some more interesting notes about this coaching staff. Going back to when John Gruden was traded to the Bucs, Al Davis promoted the offensive coordinator Bill Callahan to head coach. 20 years later, Gruden's back, hired Bill's son Brian to coach quarterbacks. Has some prior experience in the quarterback room with the Lions, and he's going to have Olson and Gruden help him out. We'll see how he grows. At strength and conditioning coach, Gruden hires a familiar face, his son, Deuce Gruden. Check him out. He's jacked. We're not going to question if he knows a single thing about strength or conditioning because he could pop my head like a zit. Tom Cable's back coaching the offensive line. He was the offensive line coach in 2007 and 2008. Then he moved to Raiders head coach from 2008 to 10. He's been working with Seattle as the offensive line coach since. The zone running game the Seahawks ran doesn't exactly match up with the Raiders personnel. Had a lot more success running power blocking. We'll get into the offensive line later. Could be in the midst of an overhaul here with all of that. Moving on to the players. At quarterback, Derek Carr. He was not a first-round pick. Raiders didn't have that fifth-year option. Had to get their checkbook out. 5 years, $125 million. Derek got paid. No more rookie discount. We've talked about with all the other teams, time to win when the quarterback's on that rookie deal. Raiders don't have that luxury anymore. Spending money on the quarterback instead of spending it on the weapons around him. Last year, Oakland was 31st in quarterback spending. This year, they're 6th. Going into 2018, Raiders in offensive spending, number 1. Gruden's not messing around. He knows it's on him. He went out and spent the money to get the guys he likes. The Raiders are number 2 in offensive line spending. Nice to see big money going to the guys protecting the quarterback. But as a result, 25th in spending on defense. In 2016, Derek Carr broke his leg, ended his season. 2017, again injury-filled, played through the pain, 3 broken bones in his back, looked healthy towards the end of the season. He should return to his 2016 form when he was a top quarterback in the league. Yes, Gruden's terminology and play calling is very long. We did get a report out of camp this week, quote, I think he's one of the best in terms of processing information. I think he craves new things. He wants more. What have we done today? What are we doing today? What's new? What do we got? He's got a photographic memory. It comes so easy to him. He's got the offense more mastered than I do. End quote. Very exciting times ahead with Carr and Gruden. Connor Cook backs him up. Showed some promise. That's the role he was drafted for. Should do a good job there. At running back, Marshawn Lynch, beast mode is back. Not used how we expected in 2017 after he had a year away. Hopefully a year getting back into football shape and having John Gruden there, who won a Super Bowl in Tampa under the motto, quote, pound the rock. Hopefully that will yield the better results in 2018. Looked super fast in that first preseason game. Raiders signed Doug Martin from Tampa Bay. Hasn't looked the same since early on in his career. Should do the job spelling Marshawn. Jalen Ricard's back, a speedy pass-catching back. Dwayne Washington around. Still a very talented backfield. At wide receiver, they signed Jordy Nelson, 33 years old, from the Packers. They let Michael Crabtree walk. He's going to be turning 31 in a month here. Bring in Jordy. All reports say Jordy looks like a 28-year-old. Should bounce back from a season where he had Brett Hundley throwing him the ball. Mari Cooper's back. A down year in 2017. Weren't really sure what was going on during the regular season. Reports later came out maybe he was battling some injuries. He also battled drops. He's led the league with 32 since coming into the league at 2015. Hopefully he can true up his hands because Gruden is not a patient guy. Seth Roberts or Ryan Switzer could man the slot. We thought Switzer was going to be Cole Beasley's heir apparent in Dallas. He's going to get the chance here in Oakland. A short speedster who could also return punts and work the slot. Raiders traded for Martavis Bryant, a tall, speedy, deep threat, but with just too many issues off the field. Pittsburgh seemingly gave up on him. Can a new town and new staff get him back to his 1,000-yard form? We shall see. He's worked with the second team so far in camp and preseason. Hopefully he gets some starts and sub packages and works his way up from there. Raiders also drafted Marcel Aitman, played opposite of James Washington at Oklahoma State. Some fireworks down there for the Cowboys. He has talent and PFF liked him for a guy that went in the 7th round. Certainly has a chance to make the team. Griff Whalens has been returning the punts in the preseason. Journeyman here, spent time in Indy, Miami, San Diego, Cleveland, last year in Baltimore. Got a lot of work week 1 of the preseason. Someone to look out for. At tight end, Jared Cook enters year 2. He wasn't the guy in Green Bay, but had a solid year in Oakland, a nice security blanket. Lee Smith returns from injury. Derek Carrier, an okay receiver. Not much to gloat about at tight end. They do have a fullback, we'll note. Keith Smith, we mentioned him. They got him from Dallas, potentially to play special teams. Is Gruden getting back into that late 90s form, putting a fullback on the field? Maybe we'll see. Keith Smith blocking for Marshawn Lynch. Look out for that. Up front, offensive line, like we said, spending the second most money in the NFL. PFF graded at number 7, but there's been some restructuring since. Donald Penn restructured his contract. He'll be sticking around. Might be moving to right tackle. A nice veteran presence. Glad to see he reworked that contract. Got Colt Miller in the first round of UCLA. He may be the left tackle of the future. Graded out 87.5. Osemele, one of the best left guards in the game's back. Coming off a down year, 78.1, but we know how good he can be. Rodney Hudson, 81.6, returns at center. Gabe Jackson, 69.1 at right guard. And right now, looks like Brandon Giacomini will man right tackle until 3rd round pick Brandon Parker is ready to start. A once dominant Raiders offensive line, they're in a tad bit of a rebuild here. There's that word again, rebuild. They could be dominant. They could be regrouping under offensive line coach Cable. If Miller and Parker work out, this could be a solid line again. That wraps up offense. Moving over to defense, we'll kick it off with a pass rush. A pass rush that PFF ranks number 13 with Khalil Mack, who's one of the best pass rushers in the game. Up there with guys like Von Miller, Terrell Suggs. We don't know what's going on right now. He's not in camp. Gruden's going on the record saying the defense that ranked number 29 in defensive DVOA last year wasn't very good with Mack on the field. But this pass rush is very much up in the air without Khalil Mack. Bruce Irvin's back, a very underrated pass rusher. He graded out 77 even, but he was voted in the top 100 players by his peers. Also drafted Arden Key in the 3rd round of LSU. Another boomer bust move here, recurring theme with Raiders picks. Inside Mario Edwards, Justin Ellis drafted PJ Hall in the 2nd round. He could make an impact early. Another home run here, Maurice Hurst, 96.8 in college. PFF had him in the 1st round. Many scouts had him in the 1st round. A heart condition dropped him all the way to the 5th round. Could be an absolute steal for years to come. That kind of talent in the 5th round could be a huge home run for the Raiders. Overall, this Raiders defensive line / pass rush can be elite, can be a work in process. A lot hinges on Khalil Mack. Back at linebacker, 3 free agent signings. Emmanuel Lemire comes over from Minnesota. Didn't see the field much. Still managed an 83.6 grade. Could signal potential. Might be a steal here. Derek Johnson comes over from the Chiefs after a below average season. We'll see what's left in the tank. Tons of mental awareness. Could be the leader of this group. Tahir White comes over from Detroit. Another guy with a below average year. Brand new faces replacing a group that struggled in 2017. Remember, they signed Navarro Bowman mid-year. Hopefully these new faces lead to success in 2018. At secondary, signed Rashawn Melvin, a very good cornerback, rated 85.7. Comes over from Indy after a career year, could be a big signing. Opposite Melvin, Garyon Conley projects to grade out 79.6. He only allowed 14 catches on 42 targets in his final year at Ohio State. Allowed a passer rating against of 14. Didn't see the field much in his rookie season. Missed the first preseason game. Seems like he's going to be ready to play for game 2. If this first rounder can get on the field, he should make an impact. Also have Sharice Wright, 69.9 grade. Look for him to man the nickel. They've added Daryl Worley, who the Eagles traded for from the Panthers. He had some off-the-field issues, was shown the door. Raiders scooped him up. Leon Hall comes over. Could be a nice veteran presence. At safety, Marcus Gilchrist, 77.2. Comes in from Houston. Big name here. Carl Joseph, a former first rounder in 2016. Graded out 80.8. One of the best defensive players and playmakers for the Raiders, outside, of course, of Khalil Mack. Added Reggie Nelson as a third safety. He played safety for Gunther in Cincinnati. Nice depth there. They need Melvin and Conley to play to their potential for this secondary to be good. Once again, this defense finished 29th in defensive DVOA last year. These new faces could help. Overall, a lot of new faces. John Gruden back in the NFL, much like Tim Allen, back on TV. Last Man Standing airing on Fox this fall. You read the reports, there's turnover in the cast, new faces on a TV show. Continuity is key. The Raiders right now, not much continuity. A ton of free agent signings, all these draft picks, a lot of new faces. It's year 1 of new everything here in Oakland. New coach, new players. In no time, we'll be talking about a new city. There may not be huge success here in year 1. We have them going 8-8, a good year. Might need to adjust depending on what happens with Mack. We love Gruden. We're glad to see him back. People criticize he's been away from the game for 10 years. We look at it completely different. He's been in the game every Monday night. He's been in the meeting rooms with all these coaches for the last 10 years, picking up new concepts, adding to his repertoire. We're excited to see what he does in year 1. We love Gruden. Glad to see him back. On to the next one. Y'all ready for this? Up next, the Denver Broncos, John Elway's team. This one's for John. Yes, the template we followed through the first 4 divisions is starting at the top. This one's no different. It's all about John Elway. Do the Broncos have a John Elway problem? He took over as Executive Vice President of Football Operations, where he had the final say in 2011, then took over full GM responsibilities in 2012. His first hire was John Fox. The Broncos finished 8-8, then skyrocketed to the top when they stole Peyton Manning. Went 13-3. 13-3 again and lost in the Super Bowl. 12-4, 12-4, won in the Super Bowl. Everything was ecstasy in the Mile High City. Champions of the world. How great! Then, Peyton Manning retired. and that Super Bowl championship brought attention to everyone. Other teams' nose signed away key players. The players the Broncos were able to keep got pay raises, but now the Broncos find themselves in a transitional phase. In 2016, went 9-7, 2017, 5-11, where everything that could go wrong did. Things started off well. Trevor Siemian looked great. Before the bye week looked like a long-term solution. Then the bye week. Then Brock Osweiler took over. Went 0-3. Hey, Paxton Lynch, your turn. He got hurt. Back to Trevor Siemian. Negatives everywhere. Negative 17 turnover margin. Negative 20 sack margin. Negative 24 penalty margin. Not an ideal start for Vance Joseph. Elway did a great job adding to a team of veterans when he took over, but to sustain success in the NFL, you must draft well, and this is where Elway has become a question mark. Has not drafted a Pro Bowler for the Broncos since Von Miller in his first year. We mentioned him already. Head coach Vance Joseph returns for year 2, a very quick riser in the coaching ranks. He was defensive backs coach for years before becoming defensive coordinator for the Dolphins in 2016. Got an interview with Elway and took over the Broncos. A defensive-minded coach for a defensive-minded team. Joe Woods is back as defensive coordinator, another longtime defensive backs coach. He was with the Broncos during the John Fox regime, got promoted defensive coordinator when Fox was fired. Over on offense, Bill Musgrave is back for year 2. He started 2017 as the quarterback coach, but then offensive coordinator Mike McCoy gets fired on November 20th. Bill becomes an interim offensive coordinator, and in the offseason, the interim tag was removed. McCoy liked to spread the offense, which caused an inherent issue protecting the quarterback, leading to all those sacks in 2017. The Broncos used 11 personnel on 70% of the plays. When you have 3 wide receivers on the field, it becomes a less than ideal protection. That means pressure. Musgrave takes over, uses the 11 personnel only 55% of the time, was more conservative, wanting to keep the quarterback upright. Ran a very similar offense personnel-wise to what the Vikings did in 2017. Morrell Musgrave was the offensive coordinator for the Raiders in 2015 and 16. Back then, they finished 18th and 8th in offensive DVOA. His contract was not renewed. They moved on. Vance Joseph picked him up. May work out for the Broncos. That quarterback, Case Keenum, 2017 Cinderella story. Midnight struck versus the Eagles in the NFC Championship, but it doesn't take away Keenum's successful season. Is he a one-year wonder or a 30-something who's figured it out a la Rich Gannon, maybe Doug Williams? We mentioned it on our Vikings preview. Keenum was great versus pressure, and he's going to have to be great versus pressure again in 2018. He was second only to Tom Brady in DVOA under pressure, and these were the only 2 quarterbacks in the NFL with a positive DVOA of 7.7 for Brady and 6.8% for Keenum. For comparison's sake, Trevor Siemian, dead last of the 35 qualifying quarterbacks with a DVOA versus pressure of negative 112.4%. Like we mentioned, Keenum, positive 6.8, quite the spread. Scheme-wise, Keenum and Musgrave are a fit. The question will be, can Keenum lead drives down the field and win games? Haven't seen much of that from him outside of the miraculous finish versus the Saints in the playoffs. Denver needs a guy to run this offense and not turn the ball over. They're hoping Keenum can do just that. Behind Case, Paxton Lynch is a former first-rounder. Didn't look good last year. Didn't look good in the first preseason game. Already lost his number 2 slot on the depth chart to Chad Kelly. Swag Kelly was awarded the backup job after that first preseason game. He's likely the most talented quarterback in the bunch. He doesn't have the height. The talent's there, but it's going to need a ton of seasoning. Don't expect him to come off the bench and save the Broncos like we saw Tim Tebow do once upon a time. In the backfield, CJ Anderson gone. Devontae Booker's back, coming off a year where injury knocked him down the depth chart. This year, however, he'll have every opportunity to start. A decent pass-catching running back, has not had a great average yards per carry. Maybe that's on the offensive line. He's going to look to break 4 yards a carry in 2018 and be that lead dog. If not, Denver drafted Royce Freeman out of Oregon in the 3rd round. Football Outsiders backcast system loves Freeman if he can stay healthy. Suggests this could be his job for the taking. Also have D'Angelo Henderson, drafted David Williams in the 7th round, signed undrafted free agent Philip Lindsay. He's a local product. Our super producer Howard loves him, hopes he makes the team, could be a great number 3. Outside, Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders back, a very high-paid group between these two. Thomas is now 30, Sanders is 31. Thomas, we've seen his production drop off year by year. Could be an age issue, could be a quarterback issue. We're going to soon find out. When Musgrave took the position over last season, Thomas had a ton more targets than Sanders, so perhaps a full year returns Thomas to that 1,000-yard benchmark. Sanders battled injuries in 2017, production dipped off, may very well be a make or break year for both. Looks like Elway's found each his successor in the draft. They took Cortland Sutton in the second round out of SMU, similar size to Thomas, also drafted Deshaun Hamilton out of Penn State, bigger than Sanders, but could be his heir apparent. Sutton is the size/speed guy, whereas Hamilton could easily become the slot guy for Denver for years to come. They also have Isaiah McKenzie, may make his biggest impact returning kicks and punts. At tight end, the biggest rivalry in college football carries into the tight ends room. Jeff Hireman, former Buckeye, returns, and Jake Butt from that team up North Michigan is gonna play this season. Butt redshirted his rookie season, a decent blocker, okay receiver, can easily play and start this year. Elway loves his Big Ten tight ends, also drafted Troy Fumagalli out of Wisconsin, may not start, but can be a decent backup. The offensive line, graded number 19 by PFF, left tackle Garrett Bowles, Elway's 2017 first round pick, graded out of 68.8 in his rookie season. Not a fantastic showing, still young, still raw. At left guard, Ronald Leary enters year 2 with the Broncos after playing with the Cowboys. 81.2 grade, very solid left guard, maybe the best offensive lineman on this team. At center, Matt Paradise graded out 75.2, above average, has had better years though. Right guard, Connor McGovern, 40.2. Issue here, we could see maybe a battle here brew between him, Menelik Watson, or Max Garcia. At right tackle, Jared Veldheer acquired in a trade with Arizona. Last season with Arizona, he moved from left tackle to right tackle, played much better at right tackle, overall graded out 54.3, but keep in mind that includes his struggles at left tackle before switching over to right side, where he did see improvement. If anything, upgraded line for Keenum from what he experienced in Minnesota. He has some weapons and the okay line. One of these quarterbacks are going to need to decide if this is an average offense or a bottom of the barrel offense. Enough about offense, let's talk defense. The Broncos last season finished in top 5 in yards per game allowed. It's the first time a top 5 defense has drafted a defensive player with a top 5 pick since 1984, and boy did they need it. Broncos 25th in quarterback hits last year. Yes, Von Miller's great, but he needs a running mate. We mentioned top 5 in yards per game. That's why we use defensive DVOA. They actually finished number 10, perhaps a bigger indicator that they needed some help on the defense. Let's talk about pass rush. PFF has him graded number 7 going into 2018. We just mentioned him, Von Miller back, graded out 95, always good for 10 or more sacks. You guys know who he is. On the other side, they drafted Bradley Chubb with a 5th overall pick, graded out an 89.4 last year at NC State, was considered a potential number 1 pick, but the Browns thought otherwise. Football Outsiders Saxier rating was the 5th highest among edge rushers in this year's draft and projects 24.6 sacks in his first 5 seasons. Not awful, but certainly lower than the last time we saw the number 5 pick used on an edge rusher when Khalil Mack was projected at 34.4 sacks. The good news for Chubb is Von Miller, who once upon a time had a 32.9 sack projection, is on the other side of the line, drawing tons of attention. Chubb's not your typical 3-4 backer, however, something to pay attention to, how they deploy Chubb. Broncos also have Shane Ray, graded out 50.7, had a down year. There are some high hopes for him. Shaquille Barrett, 82.1. 4 good pass rushers to show why the Broncos are projected number 7. Hopefully they can hit the quarterback more than they did in 2017. Inside, Derek Wolfe graded out 78.0, Adam Gostis 77.1, Domata Peko graded out an 80, very big at stopping the run, a key rotational piece. Other names, Zach Kerr, Shelby Harris, Peko's brother Kyle. Overall, Broncos very good up front. At inside linebacker, Brandon Marshall returns along with Todd Davis. Marshall coming off a year graded out 68.1, below average, but we've seen him make an impact. Hopefully he gets back to that form. He's very good all 3 downs, coming off a year when the Broncos asked him to do a lot. Todd Davis, very good at the run, graded out 66.0. If either getting in trouble, Denver drafted Josie Jewell out of Iowa in the 4th round. PFF favorite for a mid-round flyer, great name for a middle linebacker. Josie Jewell, overall a very good front 7. In the secondary, they're graded out number 10 according to PFF. Chris Harris graded out 83.5, a superb nickel cornerback. Spent a lot more time outside last year. Losing Aqib Talib's not going to help keep Harris inside. A very good above average corner. On the opposite side, Bradley Roby graded out 84.0. Very good, maybe not a lockdown corner, but a great solid option. The 3rd corner up for grabs. Tremaine Brock graded out 45.3. Once upon a time, very good corner in San Francisco. Also have safety William Parks penciled in at nickel for now. Wasn't great in 2017 at the nickel, but we'll see who wins that job. Also drafted Isaac Yiadom at safety. Darian Stewart graded out a 70.3. Justin Simmons 80.2. They like Simmons a lot in Denver. They showed that trust by cutting TJ Ward before the 2017 and let Simmons start. A very good year. He did injure himself celebrating, so knock that off. Very good upside safety. Darian Stewart is what he is at this point in his career, on an average, below average safety. Also traded for Su'A Cravens. Retired over concussion issues, but he's back trying to prove it. We'll see, maybe he could be used in the nickel position. Overall, the defense is solid. A very good 2017 versus the run. Not the same no-fly zone that we've seen in the past. Struggled a bit there. The over-under set at 7.5. We have that going under. Broncos a 6-10 team, bottom of the rung in the AFC West. Unfortunately, as much as we won with Case Keenum last year, we don't know how it goes in Denver. Yeah, they're good at home, and that's likely where they get most of their wins, but Keenum's leaving a ton of talented weapons that bailed him out a lot. Not the same in Denver, and for that reason, we have them going 6-10. Up next, the Kansas City Chiefs, led by Big Red. They finished 10-6 in 2017, made a big splash week 1, knocking off the Patriots on opening night in Foxborough. They got a little cold in the middle of the season, finished strong, and earned a home playoff game versus the Titans. Of course, remember, blew that lead. Mariota makes a miraculous catch. Season over. Andy Reid, once again, does not find success in the playoffs. Andy Reid's known for picking his own players through the draft and free agency, but there is a general manager. Brett Veach was hired in July of 2017, taking over after John Dorsey's contract expired. Andy Reid credits Veach for forcing him to watch so much tape on Pat Mahomes that Andy fell in love with him and drafted him in the first round of the 2017 draft. Veach has been with the Chiefs since 2013, quickly rising through the ranks and becoming the youngest general manager in the NFL. Head coach Big Red Andy Reid's back. Here's a guy who wins 60% of his regular season games, but is below 500 in the playoffs, going 11-13. Entering year 6 with the Chiefs, superb game planner, but when it comes time for the game time adjustments, game day decisions, they continue to be issues for Andy, dating all the way back to his time with the Eagles. Andy looked like he dumped the entire playbook out in week 1, threw everything at Bill Belichick and the Patriots in a blowout win. Unfortunately, I think they got to the end of the book, ran out of plays, turned the reins over to Matt Nagy. He does well enough to earn himself a head coaching job with the Chicago Bears. In Matt Nagy's absence, Andy promoted running backs coach Eric Bieniemy to offensive coordinator after he was a running back coach from 2013 to 2017. Former experienced offensive coordinator at Colorado University from 2011 and 12. Only went 4-21 at that time, so not ideal. Bieniemy will be helpful in game planning, but Andy Reid has confirmed he himself will be calling plays once again in 2018. We'll see how long that lasts. Defensive coordinator Bob Sutton also enters year 6 with the Chiefs. He finished top 10 in defensive DVOA twice during this run, always in the top half of the league, very consistent until last season when the defense finished number 30 in defensive DVOA, a very down year. Derek Johnson got old, Eric Berry was hurt week 1, Sutton may need some help in personnel. The good news, the Chiefs used all 6 2018 picks on defensive players. Not a bad move when the offense is this loaded. Speaking of offense, quarterback Patrick Mahomes takes over a quarterback in his second year in the league. He did start last year in Week 17. The Chiefs looked great. The former number 10 pick had the benefit of sitting behind Alex Smith, something you don't see very often in recent memory. Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson, Mariota, Winston, all these guys were launched into a starting position very early in their careers. You go back, it was common for a rookie quarterback to sit behind a veteran for a few years. We saw Aaron Rodgers sit behind Brett Favre. He only went 6-10 in his first year. While other guys like Steve Young sat behind Joe Montana, saw the field while he was a backup, perhaps better preparing for his first year as a starter when the 49ers went 10-6. Other guys like Phillip Rivers took over for Drew Brees. He went 14-2 in his first season with a loaded Chargers team. Even Carson Palmer, learning under John Kitna, went 6-7 his first year before he got injured. This is a formula Kansas City is hoping works for Patrick Mahomes. Still a first-year quarterback. Typically, first-year quarterbacks tend to throw more interceptions in their first year. This is concerning because he's replacing Alex Smith, a man second only to Tom Brady in interception rate over the last decade. You may remember we mentioned Tyrod Taylor on the Browns preview, second to Tom Brady in the last 2 years. You go back a whole decade, Alex Smith's the guy right behind Tom Brady's second lowest interception rate over the last decade. Over the last 2 years, Kansas City is 18-2 when winning the turnover battle. Alex Smith turned over the ball half as often as the league average. So with a first-year quarterback coming in, expect those numbers to look much different for the Chiefs in 2018. We're not knocking Mahomes, but it's tough year one to expect instant success. We could see 12 to 14 interceptions, maybe even as high as 18 to 20. Behind Mahomes, the quarterback battle lingers on. Matt McGloin, Chad Henne, Chase Litton, not much to speak of here. Mahomes does have Andy Reid game planning for him, and there are weapons, so we shall see. At running back, Kareem Hunt enters year two after leading the NFL in rushing yards in his rookie season. Bad news, the last 8 rookie running backs who rushed for over 1,000 yards had fewer yards in year two. In addition to leading the NFL in yards, Kareem Hunt also led the league in broken tackles. DVOA loved Hunt. He's proved he's a 3-down back with pass-catching ability. He quickly asserted himself into the top 10 running back conversation. Chiefs signed Damian Williams out of Miami. Could see some snaps on third down. Still have Spencer Ware who's coming off an injury. He could be a nice power, short distance back. AFC WEST is back. Very successful year spelling Hunt in 2017. Overall, a very solid position group. At wide receiver, we have 3 words for you folks. Speed, speed, speed. Tyreek Hill sprinted onto the scene last year, made Tony Romo jump out of his chair when the Chiefs played the Cowboys. He's becoming one of the scariest deep threats in the NFL. With no safety help and a defensive back in man coverage, if Tyreek Hill's running a go route, good luck. Smith is very accurate downfield. We'll see about Mahomes. We know he has a cannon, but I'm not sure it's possible to overthrow Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs also went out and added Sammy Watkins, another speedster. He's only 25 years old, battled his injuries in Buffalo, got traded to the Rams, who he just couldn't sync up with Jared Goff. Good news for Watkins, didn't drop a ball all season. A huge get for the Chiefs. The Chiefs already like sending Tyreek Hill on vertical routes. Well, guess what? If you have Watkins, Hunt, and Jason Kelce also running verticals, I don't have any idea how defense covers that. Now, Watkins hasn't broke the 1,000-yard mark in the last 2 seasons, but this isn't fantasy football. Hill and Watkins, a fantastic 1-2 punch. Chiefs also have Chris Conley coming back off an Achilles injury. Demarcus Robinson can play inside or outside, more of a project there. DeAnthony Thomas, the former utility knife out of the Oregon Ducks, enters year 5. We'll see if he gets some time. J.U. Chestnut out of Michigan, a bigger target who could grow into a rotational role. With the top 2, though, this group, very talented. We mentioned him already at tight end, Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends in the league. Him and Gronk, 2 guys you can generally pencil in for a 1,000-yard season. He can do it all, a top-tier weapon for the Chiefs. Behind Kelce, J.C. Amaro comes over from the Titans. Undrafted free agent Blake Mack making splashes in camp. Alex Ellis comes from the Saints. Demetrius Harris back. Tim Wright. Many questions after Kelce, but in all honesty, he shouldn't be coming off the field that much. Offensive line number 18, graded by PFF. We'll start off with the former number 1 overall pick, Eric Fisher, graded out 70.4. Has not had the career you'd expect of a former number 1 overall pick, but he is serviceable. Mitchell Schwartz, 80.0 grade, one of the better right tackles in the league. We've said it before on the show, this isn't your father's offensive line. Right tackle is becoming increasingly important. Schwartz is a solid option at right tackle. We have one positional battle at guard between Brian Winston and Cameron Irving. Cameron Irving, a former tackle, traded to Kansas City last year. Brian Winston graded out 40.6. We'll see who wins that position. At the other guard, Dr. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. Yes, that's right, a little French-Canadian plus a graduated doctor. May wrapped it up. He's officially a doctor. Been juggling the NFL and medical school. How often do you hear that? He graded out a 78.2. Solid option. The Frenchman could be referred to as Dunder Mifflin in the future if we don't want to break out our French accents. One more time for the road. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. At center, Mitch Morse, 44.9, below average. Probably the weakest spot. But between Fisher, Irving, and Morris, if these guys can figure it out, this could be a very good line. For now, just an average NFL line. They will be efficient, but they have trouble versus solid pass rushes in the NFL. Speaking of pass rush, flipping over to defense, the pass rush graded out number 26 according to PFF. Justin Houston graded 87.6. When he's healthy, he's a dominant force. On the other edge, D Ford, 48.7 grade, a down year, but we have seen him be disruptive when he's playing his full potential. Frank Zambone's back, not particularly good pass rusher. Inside on the line, Chris Jones, a very good 3-4 defensive end, graded out 88.2, one of the top 3-4 D ends in the NFL. Alan Bailey, 72.1. Xavier Williams comes over from the Cardinals, should help the run D. Big guy here, 325 pounds, going to try to replace the loss of Benny Logan. As we mentioned, the Chiefs used all 6 draft picks on defense, have 2 of those picks here. Derek Nottie graded on 85.5 in college. He's a 3rd rounder out of Florida State. And then Breeland Speaks from Ole Miss, 82.4. Speaks should convert to the outside linebacker and help the pass rush. When we talked about Bradley Chubb earlier, we mentioned Football Outsiders' sacks here rating does not favor Speaks, but the Chiefs think otherwise. Took him in the second round. They're going to need to replace the missing old Tamba Hali. He led the Chiefs for many seasons in pass rush with Justin Houston. Overall, a decent to below average defensive line and pass rush. At inside linebacker, Anthony Hitchens, signed from Dallas, comes in to replace Derek Johnson. Hitchens averaged 73.0. Chiefs looking to get younger and more athletic. Also have Reggie Ragland back, another average inside linebacker, graded out 76.0. Comes over to trade from Buffalo. The former second rounder out of Alabama, not particularly great first to pass, but should help the run defense that struggled in 2017 and were hurt by injuries. Onto the secondary, graded 28th by PFF. We'll get into why we may not agree with that so much. 2 stars really, and then a lot of question marks. Kendall Fuller, 90.0 grade, unbelievable 2017, graded out as a top 5 corner. The Chiefs landed him in the Alex Smith deal. Comes off a fantastic 2017. We'll see how he does in a new scheme, playing outside, filling the role for Marcus Peters. Also at cornerback, Steven Nelson, graded out 76.8. They signed David Amerson from Oakland, had a 39.7 grade, really struggled in that scheme. We'll see how he's deployed with the Chiefs. Fuller hasn't played much outside. Could allow Amerson maybe to play nickel or vice versa. All 3 guys could flip-flop. We'll see how Kansas City schemes it up. We talked draft picks. Here's another one. Tremon Smith in the 6th round out of Central Arkansas. Had a solid OTA. Someone to watch out for if the other 3 struggle. At safety, Eric Berry is back. Shut down Gronk in week 1, a big part of their win against the Patriots, but then tore his Achilles. One of the absolute best safeties in the NFL, a complete game changer. He's had a sore heel in preseason. Hopefully he gets well. He's played through a lot in his career with his health, but when he's healthy, he's an absolute superstar safety. Chiefs also have Daniel Sorensen, played some linebacker last year, but played out of position filling in for Eric Berry. Eric Murray, 44.4, very poor 2017. Also forced into action. One of them's going to have to fill the Ron Parker role from last year. Drafted Armani Watts from Texas A&M. Overall, a lot of shuffling and question marks. Yes, Fuller and Berry are among the best secondary players in the NFL. However, there are questions for health, and Fuller potentially playing out of position. We do not think they're as bad as PFF grade suggests, number 28 overall, but we shall see. The over-under set at 8. It's always tough for a team to come into Arrowhead and win. This offense is loaded, but like we mentioned, a first-year quarterback generally doesn't have a great record. We have them going 7-9. Love the offense. The defense should be better than that 30th overall grade. Kansas City, 7-9. Sorry, Andy, just too many question marks. Coming up next, the San Diego Chargers. What? Oh, yeah. That's right. They did move. All right. From the top. Coming up next, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers coming off a very solid 2017 with a playoff berth. Ooh. Oh, wait. They didn't make the playoffs. Huh. Hold on. That's right. The kicker. Yes, folks. Having a kicker who should be kicking in high school stadiums and not NFL fields, that's going to create extra losses for a team. What's that? What page? Oh, the Chargers do play in a high school stadium. What? 25,000 capacity? Oh man. Well, the Chargers 2017 season, quite a disappointment. A 9-7 mark for the first-year coach Anthony Lynn. Had some questionable choices at the beginning of the year, sending out undrafted free agent kicker Young Hoku to miss some field goals in the first 2 games. Then they didn't even try to allow him to kick in game 3, chose to punt. All this adds up, eventually cost them the season. The 2017 Chargers were 1-4 in field goal games, but plus 12 in the turnover margin, plus 25 in the sack margin, and won 6 of their last 7 games after that 0-4 start. It added up to a strong 9-7 team that unfortunately did not make the playoffs. Looking at the top, Chargers general manager Tom Telesco enters year 6 with his tenure after taking over for AJ Smith's decade of being general manager. Telesco was only 40 when hired by San Diego. We saw immediate success, getting back to the playoffs, but never had a team finish better than 9-7. The Chargers, not an analytics organization. From everything we've heard and read, nothing in that department. You see a young GM, you expect him to be on the cusp of any technology, but that's not the case here. He has an okay drafting history, biggest draftees being Joey Bosa and Melvin Gordon, big names. Also signed Casey Hayward as a free agent, now is one of the league's top corners in all of football. That's the bright side, but here's the downside. This season was about to be LA's chance to make a splash before having to have that talk with Joey Bosa. No, not the birds and the bees. We're talking about his very big contract extension. And then there's the aging Phillip Rivers. Instead of going out in the free agency and plucking some big names, Telesco opted to fix his team's problems through the draft. This may be a make or break year for Telesco, as the Chargers' Super Bowl run window isn't going to be open much longer. Having said that, still a very strong team. We'll get into all that in a moment. First, let's look at who's on the field coaching. Head coach Anthony Lynn returns. Lynn learned on the job. He learned the hard way, as we mentioned earlier. He impressed the management in his interview, had a solid interim head coaching run with the Buffalo Bills, was the offensive coordinator before that, first time as an offensive coordinator in the NFL. Speaking of offensive coordinator, Chargers brought in Ken Wisenhunt the year prior to Lynn's arrival, and he was kept on as offensive coordinator. Ken Wisenhunt's head coaching career didn't work out for him during 2 stints as head coach, first with the Cardinals and later the Titans. His big success was being Big Ben's offensive coordinator during his great rookie run, and of course their Super Bowl run, sending Jerome Bettis off into the sunset with his championship. This isn't Ken Wisenhunt's first stint as Chargers offensive coordinator. He spent 2013 with them as the OC, a year that saw San Diego finish second in offensive DVOA, got him his second head coaching gig with the Titans. His first year back with the Chargers didn't see the same success. They finished 18th in offensive DVOA, but last year we saw him make a jump, finish number 7. So Lynn's offense with Wisenhunt and Rivers should be in good hands. On defense, Gus Bradley enters year 2 as defensive coordinator. An instant success year 1. We saw instant success year 1. Chargers finished 7th in defensive DVOA. Last year, a tad of a drop-off. Finished outside the top 10 at number 12 overall. Bradley's another former NFL head coach. He had a run with the Jaguars as head coach from 2013 to 2016, but finished 14-48 by the end of it. His best moments were as the defensive coordinator from Seattle from 2009 to 2012, calling the plays and laying the groundwork for Seattle at the very beginning stages of the Legion of Boom defense. That would eventually go into 2 Super Bowls without him and win 1. Think whatever you want about Anthony Lynn, he's learned the hard way on game day and has 2 very good coordinators on both sides of the ball. Now on to the fun part, personnel. Phillip Rivers, the genetic jackhammer, 36 years old, turning 37 by the end of the season. Rivers had a bounce back year in 2017. Chargers were first in the NFL in passing yards per game. This is a guy who seems to have learned a ton watching Peyton Manning at the line and mimicking him. We can't question his intelligence. He was only sacked 18 times last season, and let's not pretend this offensive line was superb. The future Hall of Fame quarterback is in please let me win now mode, much like Dan Marino in his final years. You gotta feel bad for a guy that's been watching kickers blow games, even being caught on camera mouthing, quote, "We're the bad news Bears." Rivers' final days as an NFL quarterback could come to an end at any time. So this is a must-win situation, must-win season for him and Los Angeles. Rivers is easily a top 10 quarterback when healthy and can hopefully stay on his feet a lot again to make the run. Behind Rivers, we got a battle brewing. Cardale Jones, Geno Smith, Nick Simichek. Ken Wisenhunt's system is a pocket passer scheme, so keep an eye on Simichek. Comes from Texas Tech, undrafted to maybe sneak in as an option for backup. Preseason in time will tell. At running back, Melvin Gordon. This is the first round of running back that has had his 5th-year option picked up. The Chargers run a heavy load on Gordon, and he's not made to be that guy. Breaking the 1,000-yard rushing mark for the first time last year, he's never had an above 4.0 yards per carry season yet. Not a death sentence, because the names on the list of running backs who have had less than 4 yards per carry through their first 3 seasons, very solid one. Names like Marshall Faulk, Jerome Bettis, Beast Mode Marshall Lynch, and there's a lot more names where that came from. Melvin Gordon logged his most carries and most receptions last year. He's a 3-down workhorse back for this offense, so expect the same in 2018. Behind Gordon, let's start with Austin Eckler, an undrafted free agent, only 5'9", resembles a poor man's Darren Sproles. He'll spell Gordon whenever water is needed, solid pass catching back who can make an impact while in the game. One other name to watch for in the backfield, Justin Jackson out of Northwestern. We love Jackson at Northwestern, and so did the Chargers. Rushing for more than 5,000 yards while there, we'll find out quickly if he's fast enough for the NFL or simply logged too many miles at a young age. Either way, very big fan of Jackson. We hope he gets his chance. Also, there's some camp name makers we've been hearing and seeing. Did Trez Newsome have a possible chance to make the team? Newsome, an undrafted free agent out of Western Carolina, has impressed at camp so far. Russell Hansborough, another name to watch for. Last year, the Buccaneers made a roster move with him literally every week. Going to the air raid attack for the Chargers, this is a deep and very good group for Phillip Rivers to be throwing to. Led by Keenan Allen, coming off Comeback Player of the Year award, Allen was great in every way. DVOA, top 20 receiver. He caught an amazing 102 balls for 1,393 yards. The career year saw him targeted 159 times and make it to his first Pro Bowl. If Allen is healthy, he's a very good wide receiver number 1 and top option for Rivers. Tyrell Williams, 6'4", massive target for Rivers, another top 20 DVOA wide receiver for Los Angeles. Williams is a solid option behind Allen. When Allen was down in 2016, Williams went for over 1,000 yards. 2017 saw Williams drop a few big balls, make his share of mistakes, but expect Williams to be a deep target for Phillip Rivers once again this year. Another Williams, another 6'4" target for Rivers in Los Angeles is Mike Williams, the number 7 overall pick in last year's draft. Mike Williams got hurt in camp his rookie season, basically missed all of 2017 with injuries. He missed 2015 with Clemson as well. This is concerning for such a young wide receiver to miss 2 of his last 3 football seasons. If Mike Williams is healthy, he has all the talent in the world. He says he's fully healthy for 2018. Could be a welcome addition to a pass threat if his mind and body are good to go. Travis Benjamin enters his second year with LA. Solid producer for them. 30 catch, 500-yard guy, another option for Rivers to lean on when Allen is being double teamed. 5th spot up for grabs. Keep an eye on Dylan Cantrell. The Texas Tech 6th rounder adds even more size as he stands at 6'3". He adds to the big targets Phillip Rivers is going to have on the field and in the red zone to help fill the void of Hunter Henry. Speaking of Hunter Henry, tight end time. Rumors of a possible Antonio Gates return harms the hearts of all Chargers fans, but it looked as though Gates' tank is on E. He seemed to check out once he broke the tight end touchdown record. We'll see what happens as we move towards week 1. The need for Gates comes because of a devastating injury to Hunter Henry in the offseason. Hunter will unfortunately miss all of 2018. He's surely going to be missed. When he's on the field, huge impact for LA. Via Warren Sharp, through week 13 last season, Los Angeles 5-0 when Hunter Henry played in at least 70% of the snaps. When he didn't, they fell to 1-6. Additionally, when Henry was targeted 5 or more times in a game, LA went 7-1. They were winless 0-6 when he wasn't. The impact of Henry will be felt. Who will be there to fill the void if Gates doesn't return? Virgil Green's going to be given the first shot. Signed as a free agent from Denver, Green was a John Elway project and now will be forced into a bigger role than Los Angeles expected. Never caught more than 25 balls in his 7 years. He has the hands needed and a good catch rate. It's the end of the road and it's make or break time for Virgil Green. Journeyman and undrafted free agents fill the rest of the depth chart for LA. Braden Bowman, Sean Culkin, Cole Hunt, Jerron Ham, Ben Johnson, all names. That's just as far as we're going to go with this group. Hunter Henry injury hurts. Virgil Green needs to figure it out and figure it out quick. Offensive line time. PFF has this group ranked number 23 for 2018. A lot of question marks and quote, could be's on the line. Tackle positions are manned by Russell Okung, graded out 77.4. Joe Barksdale, graded out 50.7. Both returned to their spots, much like last year. Okung started to fall off in Seattle, but regained his above-average form in LA last year. Inside at guard, there are a few options. Highest potential here, Forrest Lamp, graded out a 91.7 in college. Missed all of last year, but the early second rounder should be healthy for 2018. Dan Feeney, graded out 48.5, third rounder from 2017, had a below average rookie season. Michael Schofield, graded out 57's back. He was the 6th lineman for LA last year, playing both tackle and guard. The Chargers also drafted Scott Quisenberry out of UCLA in the 5th round this year. The hope is he develops over time, isn't forced into a starting role when he's not ready. Inside at center, the Chargers signed Mike Pouncey from Miami. Down year in 2017, graded out 46.5. A hip injury did him in during the 2016 season. Chargers hope they have a healthy Pouncey that was once a 3-time Pro Bowler. On defense, this is a group that allowed only 17 points per game and was top 5 in pass defense. We'll start at pass rush and D-line like always. Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram are back, the most dominant 1-2 punch in the league since Bosa entered the NFL in 2016. That's why PFF has him the number 3 pass rush in 2018. Melvin Ingram, graded 91.9, was the 9th best defensive end last year. Joey Bosa not far behind at all, graded out 91.7. Bosa made the Pro Bowl last year after a rookie season that saw him win Defensive Rookie of the Year, and that comes after he held out the longest of all rookies in camp in 2016. 23 sacks in your first 2 years beyond great. The future is bright for Bosa and his agent come 2020 when a payday is in order. They also drafted Uchenna Nwosu, a second-round pick from USC. Expect him to be a threat on third downs and heavy passing situations. There's not much depth behind Bosa and Ingram to speak about, but they both logged a majority of the snaps, so there's not much of a rotation needed here. Fingers crossed for health. At defensive tackle, Brandon McBain, 43.1, enters age 33 season, as well as Corey Liggett, graded out 83.0. There's some depth with Damian Square, 65.1, Darius Philin, 62.1, also drafted Justin Jones in the third round out of NC State. Jones worked in a 4-3 in college, should be a nice rotational piece for LA come the nickel and dime situations, adds to an already extremely talented defensive line that creates holes and makes life easier for the secondary. Linebackers led by middle linebacker Denzel Perryman, graded 59.2, missed the first 9 games last year, only started 6, so that grade's not really usable. An injury-filled last year, yes, for Denzel, but he's good when healthy and a leader on defense. Jatavis Brown graded out of 68.3, enters year 3 after a down sophomore season. Chargers hope Brown can revert back to what they saw in his rookie season. The talent is there for Brown. Kyle Emanuel, 74.0, the other outside linebacker, only started 11 games last year. The Chargers used the 4-1-6 base more than anyone else in the league, so not much depth needed for linebackers here. Like you see other teams, these 3 will go to the traditional 4-3 base Gus Bradley will be starting out with. On the secondary, this is the number 2 ranked defensive backfield by PFF in 2018. Superb last year and should be again this year. Casey Hayward, wait for this grade, 96.4, the shutdown corner no one outside of inner NFL circles talks about. If your fantasy football receiver is lined up against Hayward that week, expect a down day. Jason Verrett went down again, another season-ending injury, but it's okay. Los Angeles loaded at cornerback. Trevor Williams graded out 88.5. Desmond King, 86.5. They're going to be opposite Hayward. They're going to be manning the slot for weeks ahead. Trevor Williams, an undrafted free agent gem found by Telesco, has developed into one of the best number 2 corners any team could ask for. Desmond King was a 5th-round steal last year out of Iowa. He shut down slot men consistently last year as a rookie. If that's not enough, Craig Mega returns. He'll fill in when he's called upon, along with some other camp bodies. We're basically talking about a 3-headed monster here at corner for LA, but this pass rush, unbelievably great. Looking at safety, Jahil Adai, 83.4 returns. Another undrafted free agent find by Telesco. Adai quick and decent pass coverage. On the other side, the battle between Adrian Phillips at 65.7, Rayshawn Jenkins 75.8, and of course first round pick Derwin James comes out of Florida State, where he graded 92.1 in college. This is pretty much his job for the taking when he's ready. James is easily a first-round talent. He's going to be used all over the field by Gus Bradley for many years to come. Overall, we have the Chargers going 11-5, taking the AFC West crown. A quiet Super Bowl contender that hopes it can achieve just that and get Rivers a ring before he retires so he doesn't end up in Marino territory. The talent is here for just that. Kicking, hopefully not the key here, and some bonehead plays decisions won't cost them again this year. Chargers 11-5, loaded all around, and a quiet contender for Tom Brady's stranglehold on the AFC. That wraps up the LA Chargers preview. From the Everyone Gets a Trophy podcast, go fuck yourself, San Diego. That wraps up the AFC West. 5 down, 3 to go. We'll be looking at the NFC West next. If you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter at Trophy Podcast. Leave the comments on YouTube. Happy to answer. Once again, special thanks, super producer Howard at NFL_DVOA_picks. Until next time, folks, have a day.